Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez had this to say about what's happening in Palestine.
We have to have the courage to name our contributions. And sometimes I can't help but wonder if the reason we don't do that, if we're scared to stand up to the incarceration of children in Palestine, is because maybe it'll force us to confront the incarceration of children here on our border. If by standing up to the injustices there, it will prompt us to stand up to the injustices here. We have a responsibility. And if we have historically said and committed to a role as an honest broker, then we must fulfill that role. That means we have to be honest with ourselves, with what our aid supports. We have to be honest and ask ourselves questions like why we are using our veto power and the UN Security Council in preventing statements from being released about concerns for this violence alike. The president and many other figures this week stated that Israel has a right to self-defense, and this is a sentiment that is echoed across this body. But do Palestinians have a right to survive?
Yeah, she's right. Look, for regular, like to the extent that there even are regular Americans that wholly agree with the line that she's talking about there, that we've heard from leaders in both parties. I don't know how much they think about what we allow over there and how it ties into our policies at the border here. But I do think that for some of the politicians, the idea that states can do what they want, that we have to ignore the possible effect that either religious bigotry on the one hand or racism on the other hand might have in what sorts of policies we allow in certain contexts that we would never stand for in others. I think that is definitely something we need to question for our politicians. And look, just overall, I'm so glad that they're there to provide this perspective that, by the way, they're not alone in providing. We're not gonna show everything, but Representative Pocan has had good things to say, and obviously Bernie's good on this issue and all of that, but they're willing to call out not just Trump and whatever. Like imagine if this were happening a year ago, but they are trying to get Biden to act right on this issue and to be more reflective of where the bulk of the Democratic Party and certainly Democratic voters stand, where their values stand on these issues. And the idea that they've been pitched as like our biggest enemies, or even specifically AOC. So AOC was really critical of Andrew Yang's comments earlier this week. And Glenn Greenwald wrote like a whole blog post about how she was running defense for Nancy Pelosi by making this about Andrew Yang. Well, now she is and has been calling out Biden all week. Just like, we're gonna show you later on the weird obsession of AOC by people like Marjorie Greene, but it is not just Marjorie Greene. It is not just Republican elected officials that have this bizarre obsession with trying to make everything an inroads to an attack against people like AOC or Rashida Tlaib or Ilhan Omar. We don't have time, but there were great quote comments from people like Cori Bush and Ayanna Pressley as well. So anyway, yeah. Brett, what do you think about what Representative Ocasio-Cortez said?
I mean, us taking into account our responsibility as the most powerful nation in the world, funding the most powerful, funding Israel, and then taking the money and doing stuff like this, like that's bad, right? Mm-hmm. Other final thoughts, like I still can't wrap my mind around setting up a country that, like, aside from Judaism, Islam, any other religion, setting up a country that's just for a religion. Now, this is a heritage and everything, but going back, it just drives me crazy when everyone says it's very simple. And I know why they're saying it's very simple, and I know it goes back to like a Michael Brooks clip, but like, it's not. It's very complicated.
I don't think that they are saying that the political history or the political solutions to the overall problem are simple. I think they're saying that standing against a continued effort that is killing civilians, that is from a values point of view, that is simple.
I think we've and I think we've done a good job of saying that that aspect is simple so far on this show today. But I also have said that I don't think that when, it's so easy for the instinct that we all have, it's so easy to humor it, that everyone is a certain way. I'm just looking at a large percentage of the tweets I see now are, again, it has to do with, in order to get the change that you want and the change that's needed, folks generalize in ways that are just create a lot of misinformation and a lot of stupid opining, based on things that are like just ahistorical. And that's frustrating for me to encounter in this, especially when when folks need to focus on what just happened, because that's the easiest way to really make the change that's necessary, and that's to end Benjamin Netanyahu's control over Israel, as well as have it more, and as well as like the more religious extremism and like militant Zionism that I've seen in Israel over the last 6 chapters of this book.
Yeah.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.